we turn now to Cuba, where activists there had planned to take to the streets yesterday in nationwide protests of the government. But the Cuban government not only denied citizens the right to protest, but reportedly took actions to dismantle the groups planning to do peaceful demonstrations. Cubans wanted to replicate what the world saw in July on the island, demanding basic human rights and asking for a democratic government, as the solidarity marches that happened in many cities around the United States made headlines. What remains underreported is the role played by Afro Cubans leading the movement for political freedom and the fight for racial justice. To help us understand what's going on in Cuba and its connection to Black Americans is Dr. Amalia Daché. She is an associate professor of the Higher Education Division at the University of Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show, Dr. Daché. Talk to me about the specific intentions of the November 15th protest and how the government played a role in it.
Sure. The November 15th protests were an extension of the activism that was on the ground in July 11th. So this is kind of second iteration of what happened July 11th, which was Cubans from our parts of the country took to the streets to demand freedom, libertad, and justice for Cubans who have been under a political regime that censors them, that represses them. And so this iteration that came out in the 15th of November, this came out of the Archipelago group and other civic societies, basically letting the government know, instead of it being spontaneous protests like July 11th, on the 15th of November, the government had known for over a month that they were planning nonviolent, peaceful march. And so they wanted to evade any kind of violence. And so what ended up happening yesterday was that Junior Garcia, one of the leaders of Archipelago, was not allowed to leave his home. He was blocked in his home. He wasn't allowed to leave. And actually right now, we don't know where he is. So they actually have disappeared Junior Garcia. Other activists like Coco Fariñas, who's a Afro Cuban, who's been active for the last 20, 30 years in engaging in 23 hunger strikes, right? So just imagine what happens to your body when you engage in 23 hunger strikes. So Coco Fariñas has also been detained. And so Afro-Cuban rapper Michael Osorbo is still in prison. And he has been part of the leadership of the San Isidro movement, who's also led by Afro-Cubans since last November. So Mark, this has actually been going on for over a year, and it's been led by Black Cuban artists.
Many groups in the United States organized solidarity protests. You also organized one in Philadelphia. Do you consider that the groups who would protest in Cuba were able to send any kind of message to the world despite some level of repression?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we did get data coming out from Cuba, from Cubans on the ground, that showed that there were Cubans who were protesting peacefully in a way that had to do with showing that they were wearing white, putting out white sheets, hanging white sheets was a sign of solidarity, walking with a white flower, and saying the words patria y vida. Patria vida means homeland and life. And again, the Patria Vida song, which is nominated for a Latin Grammy, we'll know if it's going to win Song of the Year in the next couple of days, is sung by Afro-Cuban artists in the diaspora and in Cuba. Again, Michael Osorbo right now, and El Funky, who's now in exile. So what has happened on the ground is something that is tied to the histories of Afro-Cuban resistance in Cuba as well. And right now, there were 122 cities globally that engaged in mirror marches, including Philadelphia on the 15th yesterday. So just the fact that you have the Cuban diaspora and you have Latin American brothers and sisters who have been marching with us and beyond the streets, especially those from Venezuela and Nicaragua, right? They have also come out and support Canadians all over Europe, all over different parts of the world, have been in solidarity with Cubanos. And again, this has something to do with issues of human rights, but also the work that I've been talking about is related to racial justice and civil rights as well. But I do believe that what has happened yesterday, the 15th November march, is something that is part of the historic movements that are coming out of Cuba and that are being led by Afro Cubans, although it is a multiracial movement.
I was thinking about when you said patria y vida, I was thinking about the sort of, that is a kind of juxtaposition to patria o muerte, right? In the sense
Yes,
that in many ways it's also a pushback against the kind of traditional Cuban revolution, right? And the kind of traditional position that many have had, that Cuba is a site of anti-colonial resistance, a site of
absolutely.
anti-imperialism. And how do you balance those two things? Because there are many of us who are deeply supportive of the Cuban Revolution, at least to the extent that it has pushed back against U.S. imperialism, that it has attempted to challenge the most vicious excesses of capitalism, all that being the case, but also saying, hey, we got to talk anti-racism. We have to talk about political repression, religious repression, and that Afro-Cubans in many ways represent this interesting tension between a radical political imagination, but also a legitimate principle critique of the state itself, even if that state is anti-imperialist and challenging this stuff. How do we do all that at the same time? In other words, how do we fight and stand in solidarity with Cuban people, particularly Afro-Cuban people, at the same time that we don't allow that to be a pretext or allow that to be a scapegoat for those people who just want to cover up the revolution, who just want to destroy resistance, those who want to reinforce American hegemony over Cuba, Venezuela, and every place else. How do we do that? I know that's a lot, but before we go, if you can help me think about that, because that's been the criticism. You know, when I stand with the Afro-Cubans, they say you support imperialism, and you know what I mean. When I challenge them, they say you're ignoring anti-racism and you're a puppet of the government. You know what I mean? So what do you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just got to go back to the history of the Cuban Revolution to kind of start with understanding Black repression starting from 1959. So Afro-Cuban resistance goes it's a precursor to the revolution. The Cuban Revolution does not define Afro-Cuban resistance. One, right? Afro-Cubans have been resisting all kinds of imperialism, oppression, state violence since the colonial period. We had 526 Black societies. I used to cite 200 societies, but I found out from a book called Castle of the Blacks in Africa that it was actually 526 societies were banned and erased when Fidel comes into power, right? Juan René Betancourt was an Afro-Cuban leader who was put into exile in 1959. In 1961, Walterio Carbonell, who was the brains behind Pan-Africanism, right, Black Cuban, is also arrested, jailed, and put in labor camps by Fidel, right? So Black resistance under the revolution was actually coming out of Cuba, but it was silenced because the propaganda that Cuba had erased racial tensions and Cuba now became a racial utopia was covering up the fact that there was Black repression happening to the leaders of Black movements and Black societies, right? So
Wow.
African Americans
Dr.
and
Daché,
Afro-Cubans.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off. Yo, you were breaking this down, but I gotta go because we are up against a hard break. But thank you so much. I hate to cut you off, but please come back. We're gonna talk more about what's going on in Cuba. In fact, we'll have you back later this week.